on this episode, how are you talking to your umpires and your referees? This is a topic that is ever so present, Mike.
Yeah, I think as you keep climbing in the coaching profession, how you interact with officials and how you help support your team and find those edges is really important. So I hope you enjoy.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't act like a power lifter getting ready to take a 600-pound squat when you're a soccer coach.
Get thrown out.
Hey, despite the great story of Treadway getting thrown out, I am going to say I probably learned the most on this episode from the youngest coach on the coaching staff. So, hey, make sure you tune into this one. There's a lot of good knowledge up here.
I've said some things I haven't been proud of at times, too. I learned a lot today. Let's go to the show. Clinic Podcast. I'm your boy Corey G. Our coaching staff, Coach Mike D and Coach Tyler Treadway, Coach Gut Check, Dustin Myers. We're back. What's good, fellas?
What's up?
Well, I think someone's on the hot seat today.
I know.
Literally.
Deegan's going to run the show, but we got to start with Treadway got ejected in his first big game as coach. Talk about it,
Was
Treadway.
this the first actual game?
No.
Oh,
okay.
But it was a big game, though.
Yeah, we were playing the best.
The first
team
one
in
of
the
any
league.
importance.
Yes.
Yeah. Best team in the league. They were undefeated. We had not won a game. But talent-wise, we're a pretty solid team, so I knew we could match up with them well. We had like 4 of our starters out, so I changed the game plan, kind of went through it, and it actually worked. I just wish I was able to see it work, from not outside the fence line. But, yeah, soccer is an interesting sport because I was actually talking to my buddy about, like, why I have similar antics, but it's because, like, I've been so far removed from competition that the only competition I associate with now is powerlifting. And so, like,
you can't do the same shit in powerlifting you do as a soccer coach.
You could probably get away with it as like a football coach or maybe like baseball, but like soccer is a different crowd, and you definitely can't get away with it. So my player gets hit in the back of the head, whatever, and he goes down. He's holding the back of his head, which was it super malicious? No. But at the same time, you have to protect him. This is summer league. It's not collegiate,
Yeah.
These guys, safety is the number one thing.
It's just a game, fucker.
Yeah.
It's like I need to make sure that he's okay, and the ref just didn't do anything. And so I started laying into him, and he comes over, and he just starts staring at me. And I was like,
this is a big motherfucker right here.
And he's like 5'5".
Is that a leg or an arm?
He's like a smaller guy, so I'm just staring back at him, and then he gives me a yellow card. I'm like, are you kidding
Which
me?
means
it's like a warning, right?
It's like
He
a
yells-
warning.
Yeah.
Hey, don't do this anymore. Which, I always tell people, if I know that somebody's about to go off, I'll say something to set them all the way off.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to earn it. I don't want you to throw me out for just being mad at you for missing a call. I want to call you something or say something to earn it. And so, literally 30 seconds later, he makes a terrible call, 100% out of spite. And I got mad and turned around and threw my water bottle at the fence, and he threw me out.
And he ejected you.
Wait, now I need some context here. Is the game on the line? Is it tight? What's going on in the game?
Trey said he only been there 20 minutes. Treadway got tossed.
It's during warm-ups and Treadway gets tossed.
Yeah. Well, we had a little bit of back and forth before the game because they went to the wrong spot, so they show up 30 minutes late. And I was like, I don't really that's not cool to me. And, everything wasn't set up. He didn't talk to my players appropriately, trying to get them ready for the game. So I was kind of on edge with him anyway. And, yeah, it just all came out.
Mike, you get tossed?
10 years, never been tossed.
What?
Never been tossed.
Really? That's cool and calm.
Yeah, no, I've actually called a few mentors of mine and sometimes said, hey,
should I get tossed?
Yeah, I've been tossed. And, I could go in a million different directions there. I'm just curious as all get out. Listen, there's so many layers to it. Anyways,
But you never been tossed?
Never been tossed. No,
really?
no.
I'm surprised by that.
I should have been a few times probably. But usually in our sport, if a guy's way on the wrong, they're going to let you go, give you your piece. Also, I don't know. Once again, I have my role to play on the show too, but I don't know. It's another human being I'm talking to.
I'm not surprised. You know what I mean? That you
no. Actually, I think I'm surprised in the amount of time that you haven't let one of them get out.
Well, like I said,
I don't think I can see Deegan blowing his top. I just don't see it.
I've blown it. You know what I mean? I've said some things I shouldn't have said, but usually that's when someone was way in the wrong. You know what I mean?
Where he knew he was wrong.
He was wrong. And look, I don't know. This year I spoke to an official and I got home that night and I was like, man, that person's got kids, and I don't want to be that way. And once again, this is a little bit different than most people in my profession, but I have a lot of respect for officials. We have an incredible official shortage right now. Like there's nobody wants
at
to
every level.
Why do you want to do it? Why do you want to go? We go watch our kids play and right away, come, where's that pitch? It's a ball?
Yeah.
Anyway, and so these guys are making not a ton of money, and look, they're a big part of the game. So anyways, no, I see him as a human. I also, on a larger scale, I don't want our players to lean into external things.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy now, especially in the youth level. People come by and go, man, these umpires, there must be valley umpires or something.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, really. These guys really got up today and said,
the $40 they're making.
I'm going to get Granville, or I'm going to get – I tell the guys all the time, I have a great relationship with the umpires. They don't want to hurt Denison. Like, they're going to make mistakes or whatever. And sometimes you have a role to play where you're trying to protect your players, blah, 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 where you have to confront. But, yeah, it's just not my thing. Not my thing. And I used to be somewhat maybe embarrassed of it because – maybe I, I'm not fiery enough or whatever. But then I'm like, I don't know. Now my thing is, maybe can I go my whole career without getting dumped?
Yeah. You got a streak now.
And this year, I got it said to lunge and learn. But now I'm thinking, maybe I can ride this thing out. And this year I should have been twice. I said a couple magic words that should have got me out, but now they like me. So
words.
Now they'll go, Mike, you stay in the game. Come on, stay in the game. Don't do it. I'm like, I gotta go. You gotta throw me out, and they won't throw me out. So, anyways,
Do you ever, now that your kids are playing sports, have you ever got fired up on the sideline? Like,
well, it's funny you should ask.
Hey!
Now, let me start this off by saying I've always said, like, I'm not gonna be one of those parents that takes youth sports too seriously. I'm not gonna be the dad screaming at the ref or screaming at other parents or whatever. But I almost lost it a little bit this weekend in a game. All right, so Jack had a soccer game, and his team's really young, and they're playing a team, because it's third and fourth graders. You can tell the other team, it's a lot of fourth graders. They're really big, they're really fast, they're really good, and they're really physical. You know what I mean? So they're really. I mean, I think we ended up losing the game like 12-0, and more than the score reflect. I mean, they're just beating our kids up. So the whole game, that their team's being super rough. I mean, Jack's already been on the ground like 4 or 5 times. I mean, whatever. I understand it. That's part of soccer, but it's also they were kind of crossing the boundaries a little bit. Well, I'm sitting in midfield, and I'm like the last Granville parent, and then it starts the other team, their parents. And like I said, the whole game, the whole first half, I mean, they're just beating our kids up.
They're bullying you guys.
Bullying them. And there's really nothing our kids can do it because they're better athletes, and they're just tougher, rougher kids, Well, then the one time one of our kids kind of like gives a little shoulder check back, the mom sitting beside me goes, "Oh, come on, ref, he's pushing." I looked at her, I said, I said, "Give me a break, Mom." I said, "What has your team been doing the whole game?" And as soon as I caught myself, I was like, what am I doing? I'm yelling at a mom.
That's what happens, though.
She got up and moved her chair. No! She moved to the other side of her family, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm that guy." I just yelled at a kid's mom.
No,
but you know what? She fucking deserved it.
Yeah. But it's so easy to get caught up.
It is. It's so easy.
Well, it's a funny story, but that's what happened. Like that's.
I honestly, real quick, after that, I was kind of sizing up the other dads, thinking like, all right, if one of these comes over and says something to me, like, what I mean, what's going to happen? Luckily, they didn't though. I just yelled at a mom and made her move.
That, in a nutshell, is what, because most people can't compose themselves, and youth sports gets. I mean, it's like you said, you got the high school kid that's umpiring. He has he's barely making $40. Well, Bobby's a great example. Bobby's a big, strong kid that works out with us that's confident. Mm-hmm. He don't want to do it no more because he got to tell grown-ups to shut up. Yeah. And he's a big, strong dude you don't want coming at you. You know what I mean? That's right. But he had to be every game down at the rec. He's like, "Hey, sir, can you please be quiet?" Like, he's like, "Dude, I'm done with this."
Right.
You know?
It's not worth
and
it
if
for
Bobby's not going to want to handle that.
There's high school official shortage, everything. But what Dee just described is, that's the human side of it, where it gets really tough. Because they're barking. So am I not defending my kid by not barking back? Right. You know what I mean? So then you start. So right away you go to some of these games, and right away the other fans are starting to yell at the officials, and then you start thinking they're getting some calls maybe.
Yeah.
So now as a parent, am I not sticking up for my kid by not jumping in? So anyways, then that's when things kind of get out of control.
I've never seen you say one thing.
Nah, I stand by myself. I
don't say much either.
Well, my big thing there, honestly, going back to the team, and that was I think in the long run, when you start blaming others outside for your success or lack of success,
there you go.
That's weak sauce, man. That's whenever it gets
weak sauce 101.
Yeah. Like, okay, once again, so you got beat 12-0. This wasn't the story, but has nothing to do with the official, right?
Yeah,
It has nothing to do with that guy.
Yeah.
They're bigger, faster, stronger.
Being calm whenever your intensity's up is the hardest thing, though.
Oh, it's so tough. Boy,
it's so tough.
And after the game, Jack was, he was pretty downtrodden a little bit, about the score and whatever. And he complained to me a little bit about that team being rough and about, they kept sliding to, which I guess in youth soccer you're really not allowed to do. But they were these refs that were probably 15 years old were letting the kids get away with it. He complained. I said, hey, man, you just got to play harder. I said, you got to run faster.
There you go.
I said, I saw some plays. You weren't sprinting. I said, you got to sprint. You got to run harder. I said, that team had better athletes. I said, but you're probably the best athlete on your team. You need to step up, and you didn't.
That's it.
And this is what I told him. So,
So that's the beautiful thing. I always say as a coach, no one ever likes you because a lot of times I'll defend our players, right? So let's say someone gets in trouble. I'll call the player in, get on them, right? Why'd you do this? And then I may call our head of discipline and say, why are we going after a kid for that? Right? Come on, let's. And so the players think I'm a jerk because I yelled at them. The head of whatever, they think that I'm not disciplining our players enough. And the same thing there, right? Like you're yelling at the dad or mom, right? And then you're also telling your kid, hey man, like you gotta, this is on you, buddy. So anyways, I think that's one of the dilemmas of being a leader is that sometimes you can find yourself in that lonely space. Because you're confronting everybody all the time.
I had a couple things I said as a parent at the last game before we was bumped out of the tournament. We had a guy in the field that made probably 5 bad calls, Mike. I mean, they were bad. Like, I think I knew better when I was 15 years old. They didn't even know we were supposed to stand. I mean, the home plate umpire, when there's a guy on second, he was still standing on the first. Like, and like, there's no one talking. And the umpire's like, basically like, and I'm like, this guy don't even know where the hell he's supposed to stand. Like, and I was that guy that like, no one's talking. And I yell that. And then I go, well, we send these guys back to the rec. Like, what are we doing? And then I felt like, did you really just say that like that? Like, are you really that guy right now? Gee, you just, I always, so anyway.
No, we all get caught in it. It is, yeah.
So I think, Mike, what was go ahead, Trevor, did you have something to add to that?
Yeah. So like my initial thing is I don't try to be a hothead because like, again, like Brian Peters when he was on here was talking about the different masks, but I only have one mask and it's like all out. But like usually when I'm like talking to a ref, if I'm like, hey, like you need to pay attention to that, and then they get like combative with me, that's when I just like absolutely lose it because I'm like, okay, dude, like you're not giving me a chance to speak, and I'm just trying to tell you what I'm seeing. Yeah, and I think it has to be like a both ways relationship. We had an official who made an absolutely terrible call, but I had known him previously because he refed some of the high school games. And, I was upset with the call, but I didn't scream at him. And I think it definitely, like, depends on how that referee is treating you because this guy was instantly, like, in my face yelling back at me. And I'm like, okay, well, if it's between me and you who's going to be more aggressive, I'm going to win that battle. Like
Rottweiler.
Yeah. So it's definitely situational. And I don't want to be that guy. Like, I don't want to be known as the guy that's just screaming at the refs because, like I said, we had a poor call the game before, and I just walked up to the official at halftime. It's like, just tell me what you saw. And he explained it to me, and I was like, okay, that's your point of view. I don't agree with it, but, you're the official for a reason. I have to live with it.
That sounds like how Mike Deegan would do it.
Exactly.
No. You get like little OG moves, right? Like for me, you take a ball out to the umpire, like you get and you go, hey man, what do you think? Did you get that? Like and just start having a conversation. And a lot of times I say, I kicked the shit out of that. I kicked it. I'm like, hey, it's all right. You know what? I made 2 bad.
You ever have a guy say, yeah, I just missed it?
Like that. Yeah. I kicked the shit out of it. I kicked it.
That's the terminology.
I missed that.
In my head, I'm picturing he kicked the ball. Like, is that illegal?
I'm sorry. No, I blew the call. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I respect that way more than the other one.
Yeah, people make mistakes.
That's all. That's the really good umpires. That's what they'll do. I said 2-1 pitch was there. I missed it. Yeah, cool. Whatever. That's when they start going. No, it's it. But that's when you start getting a little animated when they admit it. But that's what I mean. I'm not going to let things slide. I mean, I'm not going to do that, right? And the same thing. Like you're right. That how they show up to the field. If they show up with a poor demeanor and they're doing those things, then let's roll. But very rarely. Usually, you can diffuse a lot of situations just by asking some questions, tell them that you're on your side, and going to it.
I think if anything around this is in the title, a lot of coaches are going to click on it because I guarantee this is a constant topic. Oh, probably hotter than we even thought when we were just like throwing it around early. But
I think the other part of that, like from the topic, is that you are trying to influence in some ways the officials, right? Like like you there's going to be some high leverage calls, and that's what happens. So sometimes for me, if I'm in the dugout, same thing with the parent analogy. If the other coach is complaining about balls and strikes early, and we don't complain, I don't very rarely say anything about a ball and strike. If I do, I walk out there and I talk to him. But sometimes the other coach will do it, and then I'm going, wait a minute, they're starting to get some calls now. So now I start going, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the dance, right? So you're always trying to. So there's a gamesmanship with this, how you work an official too, and mine tends to be I try to kill him with kindness, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Here's part of the problem is I'm thinking about how it relates to wrestling right now, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about college wrestling. So refs are human; they make mistakes, but humans also don't like to admit when they're wrong, right? Well, now in college wrestling, we have instant replay if someone throws a challenge brick. The problem is, so we've got video replay; they can slow it down and everything. But let's say Tom Ryan throws a challenge brick, thinks that that Dylan D'Amelio got the takedown, even though the ref didn't give it to him. Well, the same ref who made the no call is the one who reviews it. So then the ref is then tasked with possibly overturning his own call and saying, I was wrong. It almost never happens.
Well, and only one person decides that, him?
I can't remember if it's one or if it's both, but either way, it's the two refs. Yeah. They don't have a third party that does it.
But your ego's involved, and you're saying you missed, like,
correct. It's unbelievable. If you watch, the NCAA tournament, I don't even know what the number is. I'm going to say it's pretty close to 0% of them get overturned because you don't have a third party. In the NFL, what is it? They have someone up in the booth that does it. Well, in college wrestling, it's not the same two refs that are on the mat. They come over, they watch it, they slow it down. They're like, nope, no two.
I think the guys up in the booth and the guy on the field watching, and they're talking to come up with it. And you see them overturn calls all the time, so it's almost like they don't feel that way. But that's interesting.
Yeah, it almost never happens because it's basically then they have to say, yes, I was wrong.
A lot of people have a hard time with that.
How clear are those in wrestling? Those.
Sometimes because it's a matter of like milliseconds. Because of the issue of control. Like, did he have control before they went out of bounds? Did they have control when his hip hit before he moved out? So it's not always so cut and dry. But sometimes when you slow it down, it is. But again, I think too, the ref, like, someone's gonna be mad no matter what. So it's like, all right, you already made one coach mad. Now, like, the other coach, like, are you going to overturn it and make them mad? Yeah, I mean, it just kind of.
Now they're going to blow up. On another scale to this, there was just recently in the regionals, Maryland. Gosh, it was a high leverage play. They're down 1 run, 9-8 in the 8th inning against UConn, and guy at third, ball's up the line. There's a running lane, and the guy's like right inside of the running lane, like right inside of it. And if you're inside of it, then you're in violation, right? But it's a stupid rule because the running lane does not lead right to the base. Yeah. So anyways, I won't go on and on. But anyways, umpire comes out. The guy was going to be safe anyways. Calls him out for being outside the running lane. Tying run would have scored. They would have been. The game, the momentum, the whole game shifted on that call.
Yeah.
So here's your moment as a coach or a leader. So afterwards, Maryland's coach they interviewed him. They asked about the call, and he said, "You know what?" He said. That guy's one of the best umpires in college baseball. He was right on it. He made the right call. Do I disagree with it in the rule? Probably. But we're not going to be defined by that. He went and took the high road.
Yeah.
Eric Backich, the Michigan coach, replay. It made me think of this as the replay. Their guy they had a guy out at second base. It had been 9-7 them. Ends up game flips. They end up losing 11-9 on this call. He was so calm and cool. He went out, made a mound visit, talked to his boys, went back in. So my point is, sometimes in these leadership moments, you can really show some class and humility and win a lot of people over by how you handle it. Or do you blow your top and go crazy, right? So anyways, I sometimes I think of those high leverage moments that as leaders we have an opportunity to show something, right? And sometimes it may be to show that I need to go nuts, and that may be a moment too, right? But I think I have a lot of respect for that Maryland coach in that press conference with his kid after they lost to be able to take the high road. I don't know. That was a pretty good moment.
From a coach, from you watching that, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All professional.
I'll share a quick one with us. I mean, this one still hurts. I'm still reflecting on it. We had first and second, nobody out, and we were down 2, and one of our better hitters is up. We're bunting them. 3-1 count. The pitch is it's a miss. Guy misses the call big time. We've watched it we've watched it a million times. That would have been ball 4. We'd have had bases loaded up, 2, 3, 4 coming up in the 6th inning of the to move. But where I learned by watching the calmness of Maryland's coach and watching the calmness of Michigan's coach, I got a little animated there. I was pissed. I was upset, and I got a little flustered. Now 3-2 pitch, we don't run our guys. We don't run them. I was calm enough to make that decision not to. But my point is, the next play was still right in front of us, and we didn't do it. If we would have put our guys in motion there, a hole would have opened up, and we would have got a hit because the ball went in the 5-6 hole. So, anyways, my point is, sometimes as coaches, we can get so caught up in the emotion that we lose track of our job. And
that's a strategy there.
Yeah, making the next right play or whatever. So, that's what I took away from watching the Michigan's coach was, like, after all that, like a blown call, that he had the presence to gather his boys and say, let's keep rolling. So, anyways, I think that's our job as leaders is to keep our calm head when fans are losing it, coaches are losing it. You got to be able to go, all right, here we go.
I had one Little League game that spilled over, like, parents-wise one time where
the fight?
Yeah, guys. It was Newark versus Granville, which already has some, like, steam to it, right? And this is when AG was probably, like, 12. The mom that was running the book came out, started chest bumping one of the coaches. I mean, it was like, looked like some Jerry Springer shit going on. But a coach on our side, Secret Service guy, Bart, had been just retired, had been with like 3 different presidents, like total, like this is like not like for him. It was like this was like
this
amateur shit.
hour.
Exactly. But he sat there and let this lady chest bump him. Why her boy was jumping over the fucking railing and just like, you know, blah, 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 like, and barking, and I'm just watching it. And I mean, he's trained for this. And they don't know that, right? But I was ultra, like, I'm thinking.
So he just let it go? He
just handled it. Like, I was like probably one of the calmest because it was like, it was ready to spill over. Mm-hmm. It was like, there was a play at home. His boy was the catcher. He was a little aggressive when the kids slid. It was like he half slid. It was almost like more like a major league type of play. And then his kid's big too. So anyway, but it was like, but when she came out, Jerry Springer style, and I didn't think he was going to hit a woman, but I thought he was absolutely going to get, like, something was going to happen with her husband that ran onto the field. And
did the husband come out?
The husband came out. He was one of the coaches. He came out and he was like ready to rock. And like, because if he would have escalated that situation a hair,
we're fighting.
It would have been fun. I mean, I literally got out of my chair. I was like, it's about to be on. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking, like, are we really about to go to blows?
We're about to go viral.
Is it really about to happen right now?
Yeah.
And so anyway, to your point, like, he was, this is Little League. This is coach. This is a trained guy. Mm-hmm. But he diffused it because he didn't let it get. And I took away from that. I still remember playing his day. It was wild. Mm-hmm. But then it went real quick. You know what I mean? So anyway, I think it's the deep down. You want to go, motherfucker, you can't talk to me that way. Mm-hmm. You need laid down. Like, but you cannot act like that unless you're Treadway. You get right out. But it's like, you know, that's it. I think that's the hard part of like fighting that, you know, it's so tricky, dude.
Circling back to, you know, standing up for your players, that whole thing. Mm-hmm. There was a viral moment that happened. I think it was remember if it was in maybe the 2016 Olympics, might have been the Rio Olympics. You guys may have seen pictures of this. You'll have to look it up if you haven't. But it was in the freestyle wrestling. In Mongolia, there was a Mongolian wrestler who had, I can't remember what the context was, but it was a terrible call that cost him the match. The Mongolian coaches came out, you know, confronted the ref. You know, he tried to kick him out or whatever. They would not leave the mat. They ended up stripping down to their underwear and wouldn't leave the mat. Because I guess once, like whatever the rule is, once the coaches have exited the mat, then it's officially recorded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, as far as like now that the bout is over and they can't be changed.
I got it.
So I don't know whether they ended up having to be like drug off by security or what, but they straight at the Olympics stripped down to their underwear and refused to leave the mat. And they're out there screaming at the ref, waving their pants in the air and stuff.
So
you might think that you stick up for your players, but are you the wrestling coach from Mongolia?
Yeah.
Hey, because we're rolling on this, we might as well. What do you do have you ever had a player kicked out?
This year and horrible. It was the first time that too, and it was a horribly wrong call by the umpire, and that's one where I should have been kicked out because I went. That's now my job. My job now is if he's going to go, I'm going to go with you, right?
Yeah.
And that's where this guy,
he's in the right.
He's in the right. It was a terrible call. But here, the funny thing, they backfilled that, and they because you're supposed to. The NCAA rule is when you're kicked out, it's the 2 games following you're kicked out. So, anyways, they went back and reviewed it and did away with it.
Oh, really? So he was right.
Yeah, it was a backswing. He swung and he hit the catcher and It's happened once, guys. You do it again, you're going to get kicked out, which it's just a baseball play. So, anyways, does it again. Catcher was actually standing up into he stood up into it and got hit. And so I lost it there. And that's when the base umpire's like, hey, just stay in the game. We're going to get this figured out. His home plate umpire made the call, but it was too late. Like, he had already done it. So, yeah, we've had that. But, I'm going to go back to – I just think it's a really bad – I think it's a really bad lesson for in the long run, because I see it with our kids. I see it with the kids in the community. They come home and they'll tell me, like, hey, my neighbor's kid, hey, how was the game? We lost 3-2, but the umpires were terrible.
I hear that a lot too. Yeah.
All the time. The time.
I squash that when Andon says that shit too.
Like, it's not that. Yeah. It's there are, like, I'll go back. So for me, the 3-1 pitch was blown. Like, it was a blown call. But I'm reflecting on. I'm not, I guess. I mentioned the 3-1 pitch several times, but I'm more mad about the 3-2 pitch, which I had control over.
You didn't go to the next play.
Yeah, I had control over that. I could get a pity party about how the umpire missed a 3-1 call, but
yeah,
you watch enough. They call them. I asked a question about how close is the wrestling moves. They call them stride balls in baseball. They're like 50-50. They're on the edge, and really good catchers, they get them to be strikes. They get them to be strikes. The not so ones get them to be balls.
They frame them up.
There's a lot of pitches that are stride balls throughout the game. So if you're going to make that all about the umpire, then both sides can go home and say the umpire stunk.
Yep.
Because those stride balls are 50-50s. So same thing like with the takedown or whatever. Like, it can be. So I think the larger lesson is, how much do you want your players focusing on external situations for them to, because you could talk about how you could give every reason why your business couldn't be successful, right? Economy's down, gas is high, But at the end of the day, as one of my mentors tells me, nobody gives a shit. Figure it out, right? That's just figure it out and try to move on. So I that's why I try to stay off of complaining too much.
Well, and I did a daily fire the other day on basically, no matter what the external factors are, I still try to act like it's my responsibility. Like, I'm the one responsible.
It's the ownership of it.
So, yeah, it's just the ownership of it, no matter which way it is. So if you're not hitting your number, you're not hitting, whether it's business in the gym, I'm trying to look at, like, what was my reasoning?
Yes.
Like, what's my fault? Why?
Yes.
Like, if Annon's complaining, you should have just you guys shouldn't have had 4 errors if you want to win. You know what I mean? Like, or you should have just went to the next call and made the baseball play that you could have. So it's like, I think that once again, though, that's being able to balance when the shit's hot. And actual reasoning with yourself.
And those externals are real sometimes, right? Like, the umpire did blow the call, or gas prices are high. Like, those are real, but then there's this laundry list of other things that you could look at, right? Like, someone said, make a list. Like, if you're out of shape, make a list of all the things that are out of control. Well, but you could probably say, you know what, I probably could eat a little better, right? I could do, like, these are things that I could do, even though I'm being asked to work extra at work. Like, there are things in your control, but we tend to, as humans, I think, focus on all the things that we can't control and obsess about things we can't control. Mm-hmm. And officials would be one of those things sometimes.
For sure.
Yeah, I think, like, so as much as I hate officials, and soccer is a little different.
Wait till they go away, Treadway.
Treadway's the outlier.
Then your game's gone.
It's soccer and baseball are very similar, where the umpire can dictate the actual performance of the game. The game that we won this weekend, 1-0. We should have won 2-0, but the other official waved off a goal. And the guys at halftime, they like came back to the fence where I was at, and they were like instantly like, because they knew I was going to be upset because I got thrown out. I was going to be anti-ref, and they're like, yeah, the ref. And I was like, guys, it doesn't matter what the ref did. I was like, it matters how you respond to that. So then still being able to, have that kind of beef with the officials, honestly, in some instances, takes a lot of stress off of the players. Mm-hmm. So if they know that I'm fighting that battle for them, they don't have to worry about it. They can just battle.
Good point.
And part of the reason why I kind of got ejected was because this kid was visibly upset that he'd been hit in the head. I know if I go out at this referee and I'm just screaming at him because he missed a safety issue and I get tossed, they know that I have their back no matter what, and it allows them to just play freely. And they can open up, and we end up beating the best team. Now, I'm not saying that we did that because, I got thrown out.
Helped.
But there's a lot of instances, especially in soccer, where you start to feel like you can see your team's demeanor change because they're getting beat up, no calls, and then it's like they'll start to chip, and I'm like, no, don't say anything to him. Let me do it, and then I start to get on him, and then it becomes a battle between me and the ref and not my player versus the other team and the ref. So it allows him to kind of play a little bit more freely. And like, okay, well, coach has our back. now we can operate how we do it, and then it most of the time has a positive effect.
Treadway's out here playing chess. These other
He
other
is.
jokers
I like
are playing
it. I
checkers.
like it.
No, that's fair. I mean, I think it comes back to, are you being intentional with that?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because you're keeping you can be losing your stuff on the official, but if it's from an intentional standpoint, that's also true too. By the way, I've had that going. Like it's a little bit like WWE. Like the umpire knows you're putting on a little show here.
Yeah, of course.
Right? And I had a guy say, take your shot at me. Like, yeah, like you're like that's going on out there a lot of times. They'll say,
He was chirping at you like that.
Yeah. No, in a good way. Like,
yeah.
Like, go ahead, like make a scene here so your guys can see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's what I mean.
say your piece and be done with it.
Yeah, go take your shot. And there's a great one of it was Bobby. It was I remember the umpire's name, but they had the umpire mic'd up. It's a big league game.
Yeah.
And he comes. It was I can't. Anyways. But the umpire's going. It was a master's class in diffusing a situation. It was like, hey, come on, you know they got my ass in a jackpot. I gotta run you out for that. I gotta. Yeah. But they're going like, from the crowd, all you see is, you're seeing the heads go. But it's more like, Bobby, come on, Bobby, take it easy. But it's so much like there's so much like because at the higher levels it can fill some seats too.
Sure.
Like you love seeing the old guy throw the
the guys who do the dirt on the plate
or
is unbelievable.
or take the base, or the one guy like Army
I
crawl
saw that
through the bomb. You know,
so the rosin bag that the guys use to like get their hand like
dry.
chalk.
Yeah.
Like one guy Army crawled and threw it like a grenade. The coach, like he got on all like because he was so mad. He was like, it was a whole production.
It's a show, right?
He was already thrown out.
Yeah. So some of it is that, right?
Yeah.
The guy's like, all right, you got to do what you got to do. You got to protect your player here.
Yeah.
Come on out here, give me something. I'll give you something.
The dirt on the plate is hilarious.
Tell me the dirt on the plate.
Well, because
What's that?
the umpires always have like a broom
and they have to sweep
them.
it. Yeah.
So the guys would go out and yell at them, and they'll just kick a bunch of dirt on the plate. So they got to so they got to brush it off. It's like disrespect.
Yeah.
You see the umpire just standing there like, yes, go.
It's like being at a restaurant. You're mad at the waiter, so you spill your drink on
Maybe
purpose.
that's exactly what it is.
I've never done that.
Yeah.
Well, me either.
But that's what it's like. Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
And wrestling, the guys are really animated on the sideline. Does it take a lot to get thrown out, like as a wrestling coach? Because I don't know that I've seen that. I've watched as much as you, obviously.
Yeah, I'm sure it's happened. I mean, I don't know if I've ever remember seeing a head coach get thrown out.
But they're animated as hell.
Yeah.
So what are they chirping there? What are they chirping?
Well, the first step will be they'll take a team point away.
Okay.
Which sucks because it's one of the only sports where they can actually imagine in football. Imagine
Yeah.
watching an NFL game
Take
if they could be like
field goal away.
Yeah. Like, I mean, so it's one of the only sports where even the sideline bench, if the sidelines they can take away a team point.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy they can do it. But anyways, what were you saying?
What are they usually chirping about there? Is it that should have been two? Or,
It's either a call or a non-call. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's either that, either we had control, we didn't have control. You know what I mean? Because it's such a fine line with so many of the positions, and it happens so fast. And the way, especially at the high levels of sport, the way they scramble through these positions, it happens so quick that you could, a lot of times you can make an argument for going either way. When the guy's behind him, what did the other guy's hand touch the ground before they move through it or whatever? And they're moving so fast, it's really hard to tell. And honestly, it seems like a lot of times that the refs, I mean, I know it sounds biased to say this, but it's almost like they'll kind of pick sides after a while.
Yeah.
And you can really feel it sometimes if a team has momentum, like one team's getting all the calls and.
Are there coaches that are known to get calls?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sanderson from Penn State, 100%.
Like you can see his strategy.
But I wonder what it is. I wonder what
part of it is, they're really good. They've won, I forget if it was 8 out of the last 10 national titles. He's one of the greatest ever. He was an Olympic champion. He went undefeated in college. He's one of the only wrestlers to ever go.
He's an intimidating, bad motherfucker.
And he don't say a whole lot either. But he gets the calls. If you look at it at the national tournament, they get the calls. You look at the dual meets. There's no denying it.
Yeah.
And so part of it is that other people will make the case of their players are their players. Their wrestlers are always in the big matches. They're always in these high profile moments. So you just notice it more. And that could be part of it. But no, without a doubt, they get the calls.
Or is that just what everyone thinks because they're just such winners?
I'm gonna go with no. But if you talk to coaches from the MAC, they would say, "Oh, Tom Ryan gets all the calls."
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So it's all about you know what I mean.
Well, I wonder if you're chirping balls and strikes on a regular basis and you're annoying. Is it personality driven? Is the ump gonna give you more calls, or is he gonna give you less calls?
That's
on those strides or whatever you call it.
Stride ball. So what I mean, that's my little walk out there. I'll say, hey.
Because I watched you do this when I came
in
live.
I'll say things like, I haven't said a word all day about balls and strikes, and I'm starting to feel now.
Yeah.
And so anyway, like I'll have that conversation, or
I have a politician in you, Mike.
and I know these guys. Like now you start knowing guys, and I'll also. They know, like your reputation follows you. They know so and so in that dugout's going to whine and complain. And so, a lot of times, like the younger umpires, then I'll try to get them a little bit. The older guys, that whining won't play with the guys. I think the interesting thing to me about the Penn State coach or whatever was, this is something that most people don't realize, especially as a young coach. The first time you walk into a dugout or walk across the mat from someone, and you're staring across a legend in the other dugout, there's a different feeling that people don't realize, by the way. Like, you have to hold your own as the head coach versus and very rarely, but a lot of because of my pedigree of where I played at and coached at, I don't usually feel that. But I felt it a few times where you're playing against a legend, a Titan, and how you choose to interact and show up for your team, like your body language, your presence, is really, really important. And maybe it doesn't even make sense as I'm talking.
No, I know what you're saying.
Like, if you were to go sit across from Tom Ryan right now, like, just if you were like, hey, coach for a day, like, there would be a little bit of –
Well, it absolutely makes a difference. And think if it makes a difference as a coach, how can it not make a difference as a referee?
Yeah,
that's my point. They're human. They cannot be impartial.
No.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But how?
Well, and a guy like KO is such a beast. You're like, I don't want to upset KO. They might
I don't
want
to get on his bad. No,
exactly.
they have to think that. I guarantee
of course.
So,
right?
So as the coach that's trying to angle and have some of those 50-50 calls go your way when you're up against that person, like how you interact is really, really, really important, because you want to be the whiny guy that's over there going, come on, like that may be a route, right? But but that OG from Penn State's going to stand there with his arms crossed. They're like,
he already knows he won.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got it, right?
Well, Mike, you ran up against it. What was your strategy with Marietta, right? I'm assuming.
I've done that. I mean. I think you have to really consider these things. I mean, as goofy as it sounds, I don't have any problem saying it, but it's part of the reason why I started working out, all those things. I mean, I think there's a presence that you need to fill, right? There's a presence you need to fill. You have to, and it's not just it's going to be that you're uber prepared, all those things, but you have to be able to stand up and hold your own. As the games get higher and you play higher leverage teams, you play better head coaches, better teams, you've got to be ready for that moment. And a lot of it's just inner confidence. Because it's really not about you as a coach. It really isn't. But
the guys can read it on.
But the guys can feel if you're nervous. The guys can feel if you're not prepared. The guys can feel all those things. So I think that's a low key thing that's really important as the stakes get higher. Sometimes maybe not early in your career or playing average. But if you're going to play chess with the best, you better be ready to move.
I love it. Man, this was good stuff, guys.
If you're going to play chess with the best, you better be ready to move. I like that. Put that on a T-shirt.
That
just came out, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, geez, can we get like a quote graphic with that? That's amazing, Mike.
Hey, you know what? I mean, Biggie didn't write down his rhymes.
Hey, exactly.
Freestyle. It's off the dome.
That's it, baby.
I love it. Well, shit, I don't even know if we can go. We just should leave it there. That's it. Coach Clooney Podcast from boy Corey G, Mike Deegan, Tyler Treadway, Dustin Myers. Brought to you by MaxEverMuscle.com. We are out.